temperature? 55, 62, 65, 71.1, 75. We need to see which are killing bacteria really. That's called a validation study. This is usually can do in-house or can use a third party to do it. Lots of the company have those services. That's validation verification procedure. Last one. Everything you did, you have to keep recording. Record keeping and documentation. Because if anything happens, we go back to trace it. You are fine. This is the 7 principles. And I tell you one thing, this is a federal register, which means it's a law. In 1996, USDA FSIS, Food Safety Inspection Service, published this pathogen reduction, hazard analysis, and the critical control point system. Require in the United States, start from 1996, all the meat and the poultry manufacturer, they have to establish a hazard plan. Now, of course, there are steps for that. The large company required in 2 years time zone to do it, time range to do it. Medium company, another 4 years. Very small company, very small establishments, they can have like 6 years to do. Now, what means very small? Very small is very large still. Annual production less than 25 million, $250,000. It's still very hard, very huge. Regarding the beef, it's still huge. So they are talking about very small. It's not really small. It's not like a backyard processing. It's still huge. Okay. They will document these 7 principles, which is right here, and required for the company to do. Now, I want to mention one thing. I read this whole document as about 300 pages. This pathogen reduction is very, very ironic. They have this hazard plan comes out. Obviously, this hazard plan comes out with E. coli 0.157H7. However, that pathogen control is for salmonella. And the pathogen control is for salmonella. And biotype 1 E. coli. It is not targeted for E. coli 0.157H7. It's very ironic, I want to tell you. You are not really tracing the resource of what caused outbreaks. You are doing the other things. Because at that time, they think about the major lethality cause is salmonella. Like I just showed you the table, the number 1 cause killing in the United States is salmonella. That's why pathogen control is really talk about is salmonella. Do they really solve the problem if they have the hazard plan? Kind of, however, you see what happened. 1997, 12 million kilograms E. coli 0.157H7 record. 2002, 9 million kilograms. In beef trimming and ground beef, 2007 is mechanical tenderized injected beef is outbreaks, 116,000 kilograms. Not only that, people find it's very interesting. In 2012, this is in 2012. Start from 2012. People find not only 0.157H7, there's other O group Shiga toxin producing E. coli, O26, O111, O103, O1121, O45, and O145. We call it a big 6. It also is a risk. So, right now, we not only talk about the E. coli 0.157H7, we call it a big 6 plus 0.157H7. And that big 6 is non-0.157 Shiga toxin generated E. coli. So we will see in the recent years, not only the problem not solved, more pathogen is coming out. This is an example of emergent pathogens. So what's the tricky thing here? Okay, this is a beef chunk. And you know that originally a beef chuck is no bacteria there if it's coming from the muscle. And you may learn in your animal physiology class from the muscle conversion to a meat, there is a processing. Is that right? Post-mortem, whatever it is, the complicated, like we can talk. I talk about that one in one more classes, and I have a video in the YouTube channel. You can look at it. But what's the problem for that? First thing, you're gonna ground it. Is that right? You ground it. The utensil of the grounding, they call it contaminated. Second thing, I like it to be more tender. Is that right? So what we do? I do needle injection. I'm going to put salt solution there. Do you needle injection? If the needle is contaminated, it will have a risk. If the brine solution is contaminated, it's another risk. Okay, I don't want to do these things. I'm using mechanical tenderization. In the mechanical tenderization, those needles are very thin. It's difficult to sanitize. So you're going to do this punch back and punch around. That could cause another problem for contamination. Another thing you also need to know, a processed meat, there is usually mild heat, 30 degrees Celsius sometimes. It's like a bacterial media. It's favorable for bacterial growth, and there's a residue blood there. So all kinds of these things were really bothering the food processing. So we call this stuff is a non-intact beef. And there's the E. coli 0157H7 and STEC big 6 is a big risk for those things. So if you look at the news, every year almost, every half year, there is outbreaks, there's a recalls. The reason is that because of different resource of those pathogens could contaminate during the processing. And they are the major risk for these pathogens, okay? Okay. So we talk about food safety of the meat products. We're gonna move on to fresh produce. Okay, before we talk about this, fresh produce in a history, we always think it's safe. You buy a bag of the sandwich, buy a bag of salads, you just eat it. Diced the tomato, just eat it within dressing, ranch or whatever, Italian Caesar salads, whatever, you just eat it. We always think it's safe. However, this happened. In 2006, Salinas, California. Do you know California Central Valley is right there? Is that right? So San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles right here, San Diego, Central Valley right here is Salinas. There is a 3 big company, Fresh Express, Dow, Taylor Farm. If you look at your bag, coming from Taylor Farm, Fresh Express, Dow, it's a #1 fresh produce support in the United States. And also Arizona, Yuma, Arizona a little bit, sorry. Yuma, Arizona right here, a little bit. Florida, right here, a little bit, slightly. Big supply of leafy green is in Salinas, California. 200 people, 26 states, even some in West Virginia. 51 hospitalized percent, 71 are female, 11% are children, 5-year-old, under 5-year-old. What's the problem? 3 people are dead. And this is the first time people find in a packaged lettuce, a packaged spinach, find E. coli 0157H7. So it's breakdown. The traditional idea, think fresh produce is safe. By the time there is not many research reported about it, how to prevent pathogen in the fresh produce. There is only one paper, which is Dr. Larry Bichand from University of Georgia. That paper, published in 1998, is cited by 1,000 times until today. because by the time, nobody is doing that research. But later on, tons of research they do all the time. Okay, what happened? We think Listeria monocytogenes is in the ready-to-eat meat, is that right? This guy, you may have heard about it. In 2012, in Colorado, in Jason Farms, cantaloupe is contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes. Caused 33 people died. This is really a big deal. And the company has been passed with third-party validation testing just a week before the outbreaks with A+ grade, which is 95. It's very ironic. Later on, the FDA goes there to do the inspection. They find the horrible deal they done, the horrible they did for the sanitation standard operation procedure. Because of this, we come out with the new stuff. Food Safety Modernization Act. Food Safety Modernization Act. People trying to design it. It's signed into law January 1st, 2011 by President Obama, but honestly, people really pay much attention to it because of these outbreaks. So what is the Food Safety Modernization Act really talk about? There is 7 major rules. We're not going to talk about these things. That's another whole semester class. I gave one talk of preventive controls for McGill University in Canada. I talked about 1.5 hours. I have a slides, I have a presentation in my YouTube channel. You can go and to look. All these things, it's another huge class. And it's not really a classroom teaching. It is outreach and extension activity. So we're not going to go detail of that. There are 7 major rules, but regarding the food safety, we really care about is produce safety, standards for growing, harvesting, packing, holding, or produce for human consumption, and the preventive controls. And the preventive control, we call it practice and health analysis of risk-based preventive control of human food. But I want to tell you one thing, it is very similar to HACCP. The only difference is allergy. The people added allergy there because they think allergy is a big risk. Including fish is an allergy, egg is an allergy, not only nuts and peanuts. Okay, they added lots of stuff. But I want to tell you one thing, FSMA is flexible for small farmers, especially the people in West Virginia. So if your farm, 3-year average sales less than $500,000, you distributed in-state within 275 miles, what is the distance between that? If you have a farm in Charleston, Southwest Virginia, and then you said, I'm going to farmer's market in Morgantown on Saturday, you don't have to follow the FSMA law because it's flexible. And also last one is major distribution end user is directed to consumers, restaurants, and retail foods. It's not a distributor. As long as you meet one of these requirements, FSMA is flexible. So what we have to do, we have another flexible suggested requirements called Good Agriculture Practices, called GAP. This is a comprehensive system for reducing foodborne pathogen from farm to table, before planting, during production, during harvesting, and post-harvesting, we call it packaging. This is a guideline from the industry. In FDA in 1998 published this one. So guideline to minimize microbial food safety hazards for fresh produce, fresh fruits and vegetables. Even today, these guidelines are still is a major documents for the Food Safety Modernization Act. So what is GAP really talk about? We're not going to go detail of these documents. That could be another 3 weeks class. What does it talk about? Major 4 item. Safe soil. We talk about the manure. Don't use raw manure. Manure has to be there for 48 hours. Because intestinal bacteria is dominating in the manure. Clean water. What we talk about, remember in the lab what we did? Coliform and E. coli. So clean water, no coliform, no fecal coliform. Clean surfaces, what we talk about. No biofilm, is that right? Because the biofilm is a matrix of bacteria on the surface, so we have to do a good sanitation. Last one, clean hands. We heard about these all the time. At least wash your hands for 25 to 30 minutes, 30 seconds. How do you make sure it is clean hands for 30 seconds to wash hands? Can you tell me? You're not going to use a timer to time me. Yes, kind of. People say you sing a happy birthday song during wash your hands. It's 30 seconds. So, you look at when during the COVID-19, people come out lots of the regulation, lots of suggestion. In the gap, back in 25 years, we already have it. Safe soil, clean water, clean surface, and clean hands. Okay? This I'll talk about on Thursday. So some regulations. Okay?